If you were trapped in a school full of flesh-eating zombies, what would you do? Nearly everyone is dead, and there's nothing you can do to stop the virus. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the zombie high school in School Live. These students are going to regret living in this city. This athletic girl, Kurumi, is practicing track and field and notices her crush. Wanting to impress him, she tries to run as fast as she can but trips, falling onto the ground. She goes to the nurse's office in order to get patched up, and this teacher-turned-nurse, Megumi, comments that the girl has been performing worse in her club ever since she's fallen in love. It's clear to the woman that she's got a crush, and that's when this childish student Yuki pulls open the curtains behind her, wanting to gossip about the boy. Kurumi accuses her of skipping class, pointing out she brought a manga book into the nurse's office, and the teacher Megumi insists that she go home if she's feeling well. The girl protests and shows the student a teddy bear doll the woman brought to the infirmary, as Megumi hands over her bag, insisting she go home. Reluctantly, the girl leaves, and as weird as she is, Kurumi is going to discover just how unhinged a student can be. Kurumi unchains her bicycle while her friends ask the girl out for lunch, but she refuses. Looking back for a second, she turns around and falls over after seeing her crush approach her. They walk home together, and it's a bonding moment for the two of them as they talk. But soon, their simple school lives will turn into a fight for survival. The next morning, Kurumi runs to the nurse's office and asks the teacher what to do about her boy situation, before Yuki here interrupts again. Kurumi has trouble explaining her problem to Megumi, but the teacher informs her that she should confess her feelings instead of keeping silent. That's when the gardening club president, Yuri, opens the door to ask for the teacher's help, and the woman gets up, telling Kurumi to be brave before leaving. Sometime later, the athlete Kurumi arrives at the school living club, where Rie is taken over as leader and cooks them food. Running out of the room, Yuki heads to an office and calls their teacher for lunch. The four eat together, and Yuki suggests they harvest the onions from upstairs. Going to the rooftop, they gather the vegetables from their garden, and Yuki brings it down into her classroom, where she tells her classmates about the onions they planted. That's when the other club members arrive, insisting that they go now, and Yuki agrees, but has no idea that the classroom is empty, with bloodstains on the curtains. It's a terrifying scene, and to make matters worse, most of her classmates are dead, with the entire school infested by vicious flesh-eating zombies. Okay, these girls are living in a complete state of delusion. Yuki here doesn't know the difference between fiction and reality, and Kurumi and Yuri are playing along to make her happy. Instead of waking her from her fantasy, they've decided to let her believe everything is normal when in reality, their lives are a waking nightmare. The problem with letting Yuki live in a fantasy version of reality is that the reality around her is extremely dangerous. There are zombies walking the halls of their school, and if she continues to pretend the zombies aren't real, she could unknowingly bump into one of them and be bitten. These girls need to make Yuki realize that everything is not as it seems, or she could get them all killed. Now, Yuki here is suffering from repressed memories. Repressed memories are memories the mind unconsciously avoids thinking about because of their traumatic nature. Instead of recognizing that the school has been overrun by zombies and all of her classmates have been killed, her brain has protected her from this knowledge. One of the telltale signs that confirms Yuki's memories are repressed is her childish nature. This is a very common symptom exhibited in real life, and even Megumi, their teacher-turned-nurse, points this out. Repressed memories can be blocked for years and are usually recovered later as the individual creates distance from the events. But unfortunately, these girls don't have years for Yuki's memory to come back because of the whole, zombie thing. Rather than waiting for Yuki to process this information on her own time, I would have to try to use different tactics to help her realize that none of her classmates are actually still there. A very popular technique to help bring these memories to the surface is EMDR, also known as eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. During EMDR, the person that needs therapy moves their eyes in a specific way while processing the traumatic events. EMDR is said to work because the bilateral stimulation bypasses the area of the brain that has become stuck due to the trauma, which is preventing the left side of the brain from self-soothing the right side of the brain. The main problem here is that therapists usually use devices such as buzzers, paddles, and tappers to help with tactile stimulation, while the client processes these memories. But the girls don't have this at their disposal, so instead, they could replicate the eye movement using a flashlight to mimic the visual stimulation that happens during EMDR. It may not be up to code, but when your friend doesn't know that there are literal zombies around every corner, getting creative shouldn't be held against them. Other effective but less invasive techniques are yoga, meditation, and group therapy that the girls could incorporate in their lives to help these memories rise to the surface. In the meantime, even though Yuki seems peaceful because of her fantasies, triggers that remind her of this memory can lead them to be irritable or lash out suddenly, which could be fatal when trying to hide. The club club members make a plan to gather more food supplies, going from this room to the first floor, then cut through the hallway and into the northern cafeteria. Yuri comments that it's dangerous, but Kurumi here knows that they'll run out of things to eat and questions where Yuki went. Her friend tells her she's with their teacher, as Kurumi grabs a shovel and the student reminds the club president that the zombies will only be killed with a lethal blow. That's when Yuri mentions that they should avoid contact as much as possible, and they can use these ping pong balls to make their way safely through the building. The girls check up on Yuki, who believes that she's being taught in a classroom full of people with their teacher, creepily laughing and enjoying the atmosphere without a single student around her. They continue walking downstairs and carefully open this curtain to reveal a number of killer zombies. The girls have managed to either block off hallways or trap the creatures, but it's already been several days and there's still no sign that rescue is coming. Heading downstairs, they continue through the building and find a horde of infected students gathered by the shoe lockers. Yuri throws some ping pong balls, drawing the zombies away and giving them the opportunity to sneak past. Suddenly, Kurumi spots the zombified boy standing around the corner, and he walks past the girls as they crouch down, staying quiet. That's when the athletic girl is spotted by another zombie, and he attacks her. She fights him off with her shovel, as Yuri here is forced to battle with the other zombie behind them. The athlete manages to kill the creatures, saving her friend's life and making sure neither of them get hurt. They continue through the school and head into this abandoned cafeteria, carefully looking around to make sure there aren't any zombies hiding. Yuri here manages to find raw pasta, and as they continue searching, the athlete hears something in another room. Reluctantly, she opens it and gets attacked by what she thinks is another zombie, not realizing that the girl's a human until she starts begging Kurumi to stop attacking. Shocked, they take her into the club room and check her body to make sure that she hasn't been bitten by a zombie. After finding no sign of infection, the girl introduces herself as Miki, a second-year student. Yuki takes the opportunity to formally introduce each member of the school living club before recapping their rules and club goals. Yuri walks closer to her and assures her that she's free to ask any further questions. After Yuki leaves the room, she quickly asks if anyone on the north side of the school survived. The second-year student tells them no one made it out, and she's the only one left. Okay, these girls have been living in the school for who knows how long. They've made an SOS sign on top of the building for emergency services to be alerted of their whereabouts, and still nobody has come. They've been able to cut off access to certain places in the school from zombies, but they're running out of supplies, and fast. They'll have to figure out a way to get more food, or else their makeshift home is going to start looking more like a prison. Kurumi and Yuri have come face to face with the zombie, and from the looks of it, these guys aren't the smartest. Not only are they slow as but it looks like all their senses are dull. The girls are hiding in plain sight, and the zombies don't even know that they're there without being directly in their eyesight. That means that these guys don't have the greatest sense of smell, eyesight, hearing, or really anything else. Even though the girls have done a good job of claiming the club room and certain hallways, by now, they really should have been able to secure the entire school. At this point, they should make it a priority each day to take control over new rooms, and not just when they're running out of food. That way, they have the entire school safeguarded. From the looks of it, help is not coming. The girls have access to a roof, where government helicopters would have been able to fly overhead and touch down to get them. Since nobody has come, that means that this outbreak is widespread, affecting the entire country. Finding a way to make a sustainable home where the threat isn't immediate is the best way to keep their health and stamina up, so they can go on missions outside of the campus to look for other survivors and resources. The zombies don't seem to be able to push through doors or windows, and unless they congregate in a group, they aren't a huge threat and can be taken down one by one. Kurumi and Yuri should both take blunt objects and beat these things to death without a second thought. In the majority of zombie scenarios, destroying the head or decapitating them is the best way to make sure they're no longer a threat. These things are no longer their classmates, and by letting them roam freely, they're more of a nuisance than anything else. By going on the offensive instead of being reactive, the girls can push through to the cafeteria of the school and beyond to not only survive, but make a life for themselves, since it doesn't look like the world is going back to normal anytime soon. That night, the group sits down together to enjoy a serving of plain spaghetti. Yuri questions how the food tastes, and Miki tells her that it's delicious. The other students insist that the new girl be as grateful as Yuki, and they watch their friend copy her actions. It's funny to them, but Miki knows that something strange is going on, and will soon find out why. The next morning, Yuki takes the new girl up to the rooftop and shows a review of their surroundings, explaining that she can access the music room and library as well if she's a part of the school living club. Miki tells her that she's not joining their club, but the girl hasn't finished the tour. Heading to the broadcast room, she explains that they can't make loud noises here or go anywhere but the places she previously mentioned. Suddenly, the girl begins speaking with a classmate, but Miki doesn't see anyone there. In another room, the other girls watch the zombies outside and spot one playing with a football. It seems like these creatures might retain traits from their previous lives, but their creature watching is interrupted by Miki. She demands to know what's wrong with the weird girl Yuki, and the club members explain that she suppressed the memory of the outbreak while hallucinating that everything is normal. The girl has no idea what's really going on, but the club president asks Miki to play along for the time being. Later, the new girl raids the teacher's office and finds some car keys when she's caught by the athlete. Kurumi insists she shouldn't be traveling alone or stealing their things, but the student points out they can't stay here forever. They'll be trapped if help doesn't arrive, and the athlete agrees, but argues it's safer here. They still don't know how extensive the zombie outbreak has gotten, and the power is out in the city. To make matters worse, their phones can't get any signal, and her friend Yuki isn't in a good mental space to allow them to leave. Miki suggests that they leave her behind if she's going to cause problems, and the other girl drags her outside, furious she'd saved that. Later, Yuri explains they've set up an entire system with renewable food, solar panels for energy, and water purification. Kurumi insists that Miki is kicked out of the club, but that makes the girl angry. She accuses them of having it easy compared to her, but then Yuri here tells her what happened on the day of the outbreak. She was on the rooftop doing her gardening club activities, but then the zombies began attacking and spreading across school grounds. Outside, the athlete was saved by her crush who took her upstairs, but then they were attacked, and Kurumi witnessed her friend transform into one of the creatures. Her crush sacrificed himself to save Kurumi, and they rushed to the rooftops to take shelter, but that was their biggest mistake. One of the high schoolers gets infected, and some of the other kids head downstairs. The teacher tried to stop them, but it's too late. The zombies had caught them, and the survivors had no choice but to barricade the door. It was cold-blooded, and Yuri backed away in shock before she was attacked by another zombie that the nurse pushed away, impaling the student on a metal rod. Okay, these girls have gone through a lot, but they're dead wrong if they think this place is safer. Miki makes a good point that eventually they'll run out of supplies and need to help themselves since rescue hasn't arrived yet. She's already found the car keys, so the next thing she should do is plan her escape in one of the cars. We can see that there are 13 of them, and they're all far away, with the closest one being roughly 20 feet away from the edge of the school building. Remote keyless systems will typically have an average range of 12 feet, going as far as 65 feet, depending on the model, but if the girl uses the key fob and it doesn't work, that means it's probably out of range. A simple life hack to extend that range is placing the key fob against her chin or a container with water, and then unlocking the car. This technique can double the range and help the girl figure out which car to use to escape. Now, there are zombies in the parking lot who would immediately track down the source of a car activating and make our getaway plan too dangerous. That's why we should use the broadcast room and play music over the intercom system to lure the creatures away, giving us a clear shot to the parking lot. None of the others seem to want to leave since they feel safe, and as cold-blooded as it seems, I would abandon them to escape after stealing some food and water. Eventually, they're going to run out of supplies, but with one less mouth to feed, they can at least ration out their supplies for a little longer. It's never mentioned where the school is, but the girls go to school near Yokohama, one of the most populated cities in Japan. Knowing this, we can assume there's bound to be mini-marts we can raid once we get there, and find some safe place to take shelter in until we need to move on. Suddenly, Kurumi's crush transforms into a zombie. He stands up and walks towards the girl, forcing her to kill him with the gardening shovel. Afterwards, the teacher insisted they create the school living club to keep their spirits up, but Miki interrupts her story to demand that they leave. She knows their food supply is getting low, and soon they'll starve to death before storming out of the room. The next morning, the girls hear music being played over the loudspeakers and realize someone must have activated the intercom from the broadcast room. Miki here has turned it on and heads out to the parking lot to escape, but is caught by Yuki. The new girl insists that she go back inside, but when she doesn't, the girl tells her to wake up to reality and that all her friends are dead. Ditching her, Miki looks for the car that the keys she found unlocks, but none of them turn on, and the zombies are getting closer. In the school building, the others see her getting overwhelmed and forced to climb into a van for safety. That's when Miki has a traumatic flashback to her friend being killed in a similar situation just like this. She freaks out, but that's when the athletic girl whacks her shovel into the ground, distracting the zombies and allowing the survivors to run back to the school building. Overwhelmed, the girls don't move, but Yuri sees this and comes up with a clever plan. She heads to the broadcast room and plays the track and field song, making Yuki here believe that they need to race back inside as a team. She grabs Miki's hand, and they have a recollection of how the school was before the outbreak. The group makes it safely back to the fire escape, and Yuri visits the teacher who congratulates them for making it out alive. Meanwhile, Miki here mopes, saddened by her failed attempt to escape, when Yuki decides to sit down next to her, insisting that they need to help each other out. She extends a formal invite to their club, and manages to calm the new girl down. Later, the athlete and Miki look out into this room full of infected students. Kurumi explains that they can reach the storage room for more supplies if they can pass through the horde. She offers Miki a weapon and insists that they can handle them together. The new girl agrees to help out and officially joins their club before storming into the infested room, where they brutally attack attack the zombies one by one. Suddenly, Miki sees one that reminds her of her old friend and falls to the ground, unable to bring herself to kill, before Kurumi saves her, helping the girl up. They finish taking out the remaining zombies and sit down to catch their breaths. With the room clear, the club enters the storage room. Now, they have supplies to last a few months, and their situation is starting to look up. The group begins stacking up boxes while Yuki here volunteers to help move it with Miki. It's clear to the other club members that their friend's personality has become more childish, and Yuri isn't sure they can keep up with her false reality. Suddenly, Yuri spots a zombie standing on the opposite side of the shelf, and Kurumi here grabs her shovel, but just before she can swing it, she's reminded of her crush. The girl panics, and the creature pushes her down, but then her friend knocks the zombie off and kills it with a fire extinguisher. Later, they head to the club room where Yuki surprises them with the working Polaroid camera. The survivors decide to have some fun, taking photos of each other and enjoy the night together. They spend the next few days making sure they've got the supplies they need and managing the garden upstairs. The girls have become best friends, and it's clear they need to stick together if they want any chance to survive. Okay, things are finally looking up for these girls. They've gotten control of the supply room, and they have plenty of food. In most cases, Miki is a good fighter and is able to help Kurumi, who has been the sole protector of the other girls all this time. However, the girls still haven't gotten rid of all the zombies, and Yuki and Miki cut it close when they had to run through the crowd back from the car. If they did more strategizing, they could find ways to make the zombies even less of a threat. Now, these girls have killed zombies, but only when it's absolutely necessary. They don't want to kill the zombie version of the classmates they already know, and both Kurumi and Miki have almost gotten themselves killed by remembering people they have lost while fighting. If they really want to try to minimize the threat from the zombies without killing them, then they should knock out all their teeth. The zombies here don't seem to pose the girls any other threat than biting them. They fought the zombies in hand-to-hand combat several times, and the zombies' only weapon of choice is their teeth. Once they take these away from them, what are these zombies really going to do? Hitting the zombies in the mouth with a shovel should be effective enough to break their teeth, but once they have the upper hand on a zombie, they can tie them down and pull their teeth out with pliers. They should look for these in the nurse's office or the stock room they've just gained control over. This allows them the opportunity to save certain zombies that they don't want to kill, in the hopes that there will one day be a cure. The girls' main fighters are suffering from having to deal with all the deaths they've had to dish out, and doing this will help protect what's left of their sanity and keep them in fighting shape for when they really need to kill. The other thing that the girls have learned is that even though Yuki is delusional, her optimistic outlook helps lift everyone's spirits and the general mood. In reality, it's also proven that being hopeful and having an optimistic perspective on life affects your mental well-being and can even help you live longer in some cases. The idea of hope can help with fundamental physiological processes like respiration, circulation, and motor function, and can assist in the prevention of cardiovascular disease and chronic conditions. So even though these girls don't want to completely let their guard down, letting themselves believe and preparing for the idea that there may be a future outside of this zombie-ridden school is also good for their long-term health. On the roof, Yuki reminds them that it's now autumn and time for the school cultural festival. The schoolgirls vote on a fortune-telling booth, getting ready to design the equipment. Yuri here tells the excited girl that she needs to ask permission from the teacher and heads downstairs, informing Megumi of the other survivors' current mental conditions. The woman questions how she's doing and advises her to take care of herself more if she wants to be a good club president. That night, the group continues working on the culture festival equipment when Yuki here stands up, commenting on how beautiful the night sky looks and telling the others that she doesn't want to graduate. The girls play along with her delusion and discuss what their plans would be in the future if this zombie outbreak never happened. The next morning, Yuki takes the teacher into their culture festival room where they set up the fortune-telling booth and together make a toast to their club. It's a fun moment for all of them, but in one of the rooms, a zombie has discovered a fire starter wand, and their happy days will soon end. Upstairs, Yuki here tells the others their fortunes, but that's when they're interrupted by the sound of a fire alarm. Confused, the students grab weapons and head downstairs to check out what's happening. Yuri and Miki notice that the zombies trapped in the classrooms are reacting to the alarm. It's terrifying, but the group makes their way downstairs, and Yuri here insists that Yuki head back to the club room. Suddenly, a flaming zombie bursts through the barricade and separates the girls from each other, giving a horde of infected students the opportunity to follow them. With no way to help their friends, Miki and the club president run off, leaving the others to fend for themselves. Kurumi here defends the others with her shovel, ordering their teacher to take Yuki away from the horde, and they run, meaning she's stuck here with more than a dozen flesh-eating zombies getting closer. Okay. These girls haven't done anything to make the school a zombie-free zone, or find ways to make the zombies less of a threat. Instead, they've wasted their time making this fortune-telling booth, and now they're about to pay the price. The school's on fire, and all the girls are going to have to fight off the zombies on their own. If they were me, instead of staying in this burning building, I would break into one of the cars and try to get away as fast as possible. Miki here has the keys to one of the cars in the parking lot. She wasn't able to get in last time because she was surrounded by zombies, but since the fire alarm is going off, all or most of the zombies have gravitated towards the building. The girls have made this place their home and it's full of supplies, but this is also an opportunity to close all of the doors behind them and let the zombies burn. If the girls are able to get into the car, they'll also be able to leave and find another safe haven like a grocery store or house with fewer zombies to exterminate and make this their new home. Kurumi and Miki here are both able-bodied fighters and can fight their way out with their shovel and crowbar, which means that Yuri and Yuki here really need to woman up if they want to survive. Right now, it's every girl for herself. If Miki can't find the right car, or if the other girls aren't able to get to her in time, they should leave the building and climb up into one of these neighboring trees, while all the zombies are burned. These zombies are seriously so weak, and being infected hasn't given them any special abilities, like super strength or speed and agility. The infection has only made them slower and easier to manage, so if it were me, I would run for the trees and get as far ahead of them as possible and hide. They'll never be able to track me down either, since they don't have great eyesight or a sense of smell. When Miki and Yuki climbed up onto a car before, the zombies couldn't even reach them, which means that they'll never be able to climb after me into a tree. Once I'm up there, I might even be able to watch for when one of the other girls escapes. After the zombies have been burned to a crisp, this would give me the perfect opportunity to take my time getting into one of these cars, so I can drive off into the sunset. Left alone, Kurumi fights off a zombie, and seeing how outnumbered she is, the girl makes a break for it. Meanwhile, Miki and Yuri call out for the others, but suddenly a zombie rushes towards them. They're forced to hold the door shut, but the creatures overpower them, and they decide to head over to the north building as they're chased by dozens of infected students. The girls end up falling over each other, terrified as they're surrounded on all sides by more zombies who burst out of the classroom. Shocked, Miki takes charge and insists that they head to the other staircase, and they run through the hallway while avoiding the hordes of zombies finally breaking free. In another part of the school, Kurumi sprints back to the roof for safety and tries to close the door behind her but is overpowered. Terrified, she's forced to climb higher up to avoid the flesh-eating monsters. Meanwhile, the others run into this classroom and hold the door shut, acting quickly. They start to barricade the door, but the situation overwhelms Yuri. Everything they did has now been rendered useless, and it's clear they'll die here. Coming up with a plan, she tells Miki to make a break for it, while she stays behind and acts as a distraction. Miki refuses to leave her alone and helps the girl place the sofa above the table, but it isn't enough. The zombified students break through the doors and march into the room to bite them. Meanwhile, Kurumi here looks over at the other rooftop and notices that the zombies have set fire to their garden. The girl doesn't know if she can keep on going on, but then she has a vision of her crush, who insists that she never give up. It gives her determination to survive, and she jumps over the horde and picks up her shovel. Fighting off multiple infected students, she heads downstairs and enters the club room. It seems her friends are dead, but then she hears something behind a curtain and rushes over, finding the club members being attacked. Kurumi here is pushed to the ground, but manages to throw Miki a crowbar to let her fight off the zombie. The athlete is held down by a creature and tries to grab her weapon, when suddenly, the zombie tries to take a bite out of her wrist. The others are horrified, but the girl quickly flips the infected kid over and kills him. Checking her wrist for any signs of a bite, there doesn't seem to be any injury, and the girl tells the others she's safe. Okay, these girls are really cutting it close here. Kurumi has been bitten, but was saved by the rubber bracelet she took from her crush after he turned into a zombie. He's protected her from beyond the grave, and now she's got to fight like hell to get her friends out of there and make this second chance at life worth it. However, there's something about this rubber bracelet that has revealed just how easy it is to beat these zombies. The bracelet is made out of your average rubber and is no thicker than a normal bracelet, which means that these zombies can't even bite through the slightest bit of protection at close range. If it were me, now that Kurumi knows that this is all it takes to protect herself, I would protect myself by making a rubber suit. Now, the girls need to get out of here first, because from the looks of it, their rubber options are limited in this room, but once they leave, the sky's the limit. They can make protective armor out of slashed tires in the parking lot, or track down an REI and purchase a wetsuit whenever they need to go out searching for food. This piece of information is crucial, because it essentially will change the girls' lives and give them the freedom to move about the world with less fear of being bitten. At this exact moment, the girls need to fight their way out to get to that future. Outside of the usual slashing and bashing with their shovels and crowbar, the girls could blind 3 of these zombies and use them as human shields. We know that the zombies don't have great motor skills, so once we've blinded them, it would be easy to maintain control over them by tying their hands behind their backs. Since the zombies are also not the smartest, each girl could hide behind the blinded zombie of their choosing and use them as a shield. Not only does this help better protect them from bites, but the other zombies might not even see the girls if they walk slowly enough behind their blinded zombies and duck. The zombies are indifferent to one another, and this can help them move about the school more freely as they try to find Yuki. If the girls happen upon the broadcast room before they reach Yuki, they should also play music outside to draw the zombies back out into the yard while they try to locate the girl. Even before the zombies, Yuki would hide in Megumi's office, so going anywhere the girls felt safe before would be the best bet, since Yuki doesn't want to deal with reality and is drawn back to life before the infection. Assuring the others that she's okay, the girls hug each other in relief before Kurumi questions where Yuki went. That's when they realize they left the confused girl by herself, but she stands up, insisting their friend must be alive as long as she's still with Megumi. In another part of the school, Yuki here wakes up in a hallway with smoke billowing through the air and spots her teacher walking into the nurse's office, telling her to follow. Inside, she finds a torn-off piece of her favorite plush doll, and it reminds her of what happened when the outbreak first happened. They all rushed into the nurse's office, with the teacher fighting off a zombie, but then she was suddenly attacked and bitten by another creature. In the present, Yuki looks up and sees Megumi's zombified form. The others arrive at the nurse's office and see what's become of the teacher. Yuki reassures them that it's okay, and the group realize that Megumi tied herself down to keep them safe. Even in death, she was trying to help them, and Kurumi kills her, putting the woman to rest. Later, Yuri informs them that every part of the building was invaded, with the electricity and water supplies having been destroyed. Yuki interrupts their conversation to place the teddy bear on the table and mentions that they need to clean up before Megumi gets angry. That's when Yuri here grabs her, demanding that she stop, and Yuki reveals that she finally understands what happened. This whole time she's been pretending everything was okay, and thanks them for keeping her safe. With no other options, Kurumi here suggests that it's time that they graduate and leave the school for good. The girls hold a graduation ceremony and read out a speech that officially announces them as graduated students. Outside, they pack their bags into this car, getting ready to leave the destroyed school forever, and Kurumi drives them out, with no idea if anyone else is even alive, but thankful for one thing: she'll never have to pay off her student loans. But what do you think? How would you beat School Live? Let me know with a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, leave a like and subscribe, and check out the How to Beat playlist for more videos like this. And don't forget that from now on, we'll be uploading on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Until next time, have a damn good day.